Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. If you're very in tune with the mobile technology world, then you probably saw that today the new iPhone models were announced. So here before us we have the iPhone XS, the XS Max, and the iPhone XR. So I've still been stuck with calling the X. I know X is Roman numeral for 10, but I like to call it the iPhone X. So it's kind of weird. You call it the iPhone XS. XS too much. It makes sense to me. This is a spicy meatball. So before I lose your attention and you see these fancy pictures here, the price on these models, I'm quite a bit disappointed with the XR. I'd heard rumors that it was hopefully going to be around the $650 price point, which even that's a lot. But the XR is going to be $749. The XS is going to be $999 for the introductory model, which is I believe it has 64 gig. They all start off with 64 gigabytes of storage. So the 64 gig model is going to be $999, which is the same as the iPhone X last year. And the iPhone XS Max is going to be a whopping $1,099. Well, I live down here in the great state of Texas, where we have 8.25% sales tax. So basically this is going to be $1,100, this one's going to be $1,200, and this one is going to end up costing you about $840. And if you get it through a carrier, especially if you use T-Mobile, it will require a considerable down payment, so you can keep your payments at $30 a month. Of course, you can go through Apple, you can finance them that way, or you can buy them unlocked. So the biggest thing that I took out of this was Apple wants your money, and they don't really care what they're giving you for the money. Now, it's never really been a big spec war whenever it comes down to Apple, because Apple could do amazing things, even with like the A9 processor. I think you could still only get 1 gigabyte of RAM in like the iPhone 6, if I remember correctly. There's so many different iterations of these phones now. And I think they're having a bit of an identity crisis right now because they completely messed things up. So they had the 7, there was no S model, they went straight to the 8 and the 8 Plus. And now and then they made the 10, which was the anniversary edition, but they canceled it. It's nixed. It's not even on their website anymore. They moved to the XS, the XS Max, and the XR. So no more 10. It's gone. You can still get the 8 and the 8 Plus and the 7, and they try to tell you that the 7 is a good value at $449. It's 2 years old now. You can probably pick one up for like $275 resell on Swappa. So I don't really see how that's even a marketing strategy at this point. But we'll talk about these. And if you have the iPhone X, I wholeheartedly recommend you do not waste $1,000 upgrading to the XS, because there's no real tangible difference in performance. So they try to sell you on this, go ahead and we'll do this, come out with the XS, the XS Max. The XS Max has the 6.5-inch screen going for it, which is really cool, very novel, but you're still stuck with a notch whether you like it or don't like it. And of course, this new generation, they've shifted over to the all Face ID. So there's no new model this year that you can get that has a fingerprint sensor installed. So if you're like me and you dumped the last one because you hated Face ID and the fact that they force you to not be able to use a fingerprint sensor, if you like that, then stick with it, but it's not my thing. So some of the biggest differences here, and I pulled this straight up on their page because there's not even, a lot of big YouTubers don't even have their information out right now, so I'm just giving a rundown of this. The XR is very reminiscent of the iPhone 5C. Lots of other people made that comparison. You can get it in blue, you can get it in white, you can get it in black, you can get it in yellow, you can get it in product red, which is the only one available at launch in product red, and then this coral orange color, which, it's almost kind of like a blend between orange and pink, maybe, depending on the hue that you see it on your screen. And then the 3 colors, you can get the XS and the XS Max. You get silver, you get space gray, and then you can get it in gold, which the new gold color is really gorgeous. I love the gold colors that Apple puts out in their phones. So here's the big differences. So the XR, it's a 6.1-inch screen, and this is where I say they want to give you, they want to sell you products at a premium price, but they don't want to give you premium stuff. So they came up with this fancy new terminology, and they like to do this with all of their stuff. All of their specs are generally subpar to what you have in the Android world, where you get hard numbers. This is like the fake news of specs. So they call it a liquid Retina HD display. Well, one, you're getting ripped off because it's not even a 1080p display. You're talking a 6.1-inch screen. 6.1 inch, which is massive. and they can't even give you a 1080p display. It's barely better than 720p. So on the 6.1 inch display, I don't know if they have the resolution mentioned on here. Here we go, 1792 by 828. So a 1080p resolution is 1920 by 1080. This is not even 1920. This is not even 1080. A 720p resolution is just, I can't remember the top number, but it's 720p. So this is barely better than 720p. And if you look at the iPhone 8, it has 323 pixels per inch pixel density. This only has 326. So the iPhone 8 has a 4.7 inch screen, yet you're looking at a 6.1 inch screen, and you're only getting 326 pixels per inch, which in my opinion is garbage. The contrast ratio, look at this. Of course, the XS and the XS Max have an OLED versus an LCD screen. 1400 to 1 contrast ratio by 1,000,000 to 1. So they're trying to approach this like it's a value, but it's really not, because the specs in the iPhone 8 Plus last year, the resolution is better. I believe the contrast is better, and all around, I think it's a much better phone. And they were only selling it for $799. This is $749 as an introductory price now to get into the new series of iPhones. So back to this Liquid Retina HD display. They're calling it that because it's a liquid crystal display. Liquid crystal, liquid retina, which is much cheaper than an AMOLED, which is what Samsung uses for the rich saturated colors. LCDs give you the best white colors, and then OLEDs are just amazing across the board. So the XR, or the 10R, has a LCD screen, 6.1 inch with a garbage 326 pixels per inch. I mean, even my LG G7, I believe, is just over 500. The Note 9 and the S9 Plus are well into the 500s. And here we are with this, which is supposed to be the best of the best as far as the iPhone world goes, and they can only muster 458 pixels per inch on the XS and the XS Max. So you've got that going for you as well. And they want $1,000, or they want $1,099. The introductory price is 64 gig storage. So I'm not crazy about that. They took out the fingerprint sensor completely. These are all based off of the iPhone 10 model from last year, and this is what you're getting for your money. So if it seems like it's not that I don't like Apple. I like Apple products. I've had pretty much every Apple there is. I'm not wasting my money on this. Right now I'm invested in the Razr phone, which I just got, also the Note 9 and the G7, so I have a lot, and the Key 2. So I have a lot of extensive work to do with those. But looking at this, it's not that I don't like them. I think that it's a gorgeous phone. I think that their True Tone display, typically, the LCD that they've had have had the best color representation that you can get. It's not oversaturated, very natural looking. It looks good. And then now this OLED, of course, we've got the OLED as well in the iPhone 10. OLED, beautiful. OLEDs are the most amazing screens that you can get your hands on. So I like that. And I like the direction that they headed in this. So the XS is a logical progression from the 10, the XS Max, instead of calling it the Plus model. This is essentially just a Plus model of the 10 that you got last year. So if you don't care about the resolution, of course, these are HDR display, contrast ratio 1,000,000 to 1. These have 3D touch. Important thing, the 10R, no 3D touch. So they took that out. So not only are they giving you a watered down LCD panel, they're giving you a terrible pixel per inch ratio for the screen resolution. You don't have a fingerprint sensor anymore, and they took away 3D touch. Why are you paying $750 for this phone? Go out and get an iPhone 8 or get an iPhone 8 Plus. It's got the brand new processor in it. So, okay, we bumped up a notch. It has the brand new A12 processor in it, which is supposed to be the new Bionic chip. They don't even tell you numbers. I don't know the numbers on it. I don't even know if they know the numbers on it, but it's only an incremental improvement over last year's A11, which the A11 is a fantastic chip. Every year they come out with a new chip. It's great, but typically it's only like 15 to 17% increased processing speed and performance. If you're already running things at 100%, if your game's running at 100%, you can't send text messages any faster. The video content is not going to be any better. Really, it's pretty much a saturation point as far as I'm concerned with their processors. I mean, it's not that much added value. So here's another thing they did. So last year, you could get an iPhone 8 Plus for $799, get the telephoto lens, the dual lens setup like they have in the new XS and the XS Max. The XR has one 12 megapixel camera, so not duals. It has, all of them have the 7 megapixel camera across the board. They all have Face ID, all have the A12. So here's what they look at here. They're giving you numbers for what you can get for the water resistance. The Android world's had the IP68 in their flagships, I think, going on about 2 years now. The iPhone XR has IP67, which is 1 meter of water resistance for 30 minutes. Then they say, okay, if you want to get these two, you get up to 2 meters or 6 feet of water resistance for 30 minutes. That's IP68. So that's what they're telling you there. They all have the Qi wireless charging standard. What they don't tell you is that their iPhone chargers, I don't know what it is on this one, but I believe it was 7.5 watts with the last iteration, which means that it's slower than the Android wireless charging pretty much across the board. Here are your storage models. So here we are looking at 64 gigs across the board. Then it goes to 256 and then 512. The XR you can only get up to 256. And this is $749, $999, and $1099, and it goes up from there. I don't even know what the max price one is because I have no interest in paying for it. Now, we pretty much covered this stuff. The XR 6.1 inch screen, 5.8, which is the same as the iPhone 10 and the XS or the XS, and the XS Max is a 6.5, which I will give them is impressive. And I think it's even Quad HD. So Quad HD display, for a brief explanation, Quad HD is 4 times the resolution of 720p. So 4K resolution is 4 times 1080p, and that's typically what you have in the TV world or on your computer screen if you can get that. In the phones, they don't say 4K, they say Quad HD. Quad HD is just 4 times 720p. So Quad HD is 2560 by 1440. That's the native Quad HD resolution. What usually changes is this number here whenever they change it because they have the elongated screen aspect ratio. So we'll go back to iPhone here. And we're looking at 2688 by 1242. So it's not even Quad HD. I mean, the bottom line number is not even 1440p. You're looking at 1240p, which is not even Quad HD. So yeah, there you go. Covered the water and dust resistance. Got the A12 Bionic chip, the camera. So in the XR model, they all have the standard primary shooter, that 12 megapixel 1.8 aperture, but then you bump up to the XS Max, you get the 2.4 aperture, so you can get the portrait photos and all that cool stuff. They do take good photos. Hopefully they've improved their capabilities on this one for better nighttime viewing pictures. There was a lot of complaints with that with the 10 model. So all of them, since they have the same primary shooter, will shoot 4K video at 2430 and 60 frames per second. You bump up to 1080p, you can get 60 frames per second. They have the slow-mo, all of them, 1080p up to 240 frames per second if you like slow-mo videos. They all have the 7 megapixel camera on the front, 2.2 aperture. And they'll do 1080p up to 60 frames per second. And of course you can do your animojis and your memojis if that's important to you. And they don't even talk about the battery size. And that's another thing that I don't care about so much, is they're so elusive when it comes to talking about their actual specs. Like, I like hard numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I sucked at math, but I like numbers when it comes to finite, realistic things like this. So the iPhone 10, I believe, had a 2714 milliamp battery, which I'll go look at that. It's in here somewhere. Sorry, I was off. 2716 milliamps. So they say that the iPhone XR will get 30 minutes more than this. The iPhone XS will get an hour, and the XS Max will get an hour and a half more. So it looks like we're not even rolling into maybe touching on 3000 milliamp battery. I mean, for Pete's sake, the Note 9 just came out with a 4000 milliamp battery. The BlackBerry Key 2 has a 3500 milliamp battery. So when you're talking about spending $1,000 on a phone and you're still only getting maybe a 3000 milliamp battery, it's just, to me, I wonder what it is that they're thinking when they're charging you $750. So all these complaints that I have, like I said, it runs fantastic. The way that they integrate their software, their hardware, it's all first party. They do all their own stuff. They optimize the hardware and the software, for what they've been able to produce. And from what I've read, the Snapdragon 845 that's in the flagship Note 9 is not even supposed to be able to get even really close to competing with the A12 processor. So they do wonderful things, but then they turn around and they take away your fingerprint sensor, which you may or may not care about. And I had most of my hangups are with the 10R model because it was supposed to be slated as a budget model. It's supposed to be an introductory level, and they give you these flashy colors like they did with the 5C. Well, what they don't want to tell you is that the 5 was such a failure. As far as I know, that they rebranded it the next year and they just threw plastic cases on it so they could try and sell more phones. At least that was my opinion on it anyway. Well, to me, this one, I know that there was a lot of mixed information out there regarding the 10. So it's like, okay, we're going to dumb it down and give them this LCD display with a terrible pixel per inch ratio. We're going to take away the fingerprint sensor. We're not going to give them the telephoto lens. We're not going to give it 3D touch. And then we're going to charge $750. I don't understand the logic behind that. And hopefully it's confusing to you as well, wondering why you're paying that much money, because you could get the 8 for $699. You could get the 8 Plus for $799. Why would you pay $750 for this? To me, it is a subpar product, just so you can tote around the latest Apple phone. So you get a lot more bang for the buck whenever you look at the iPhone XS and the XS Max, but even though I have the Note 9, I review these things. I'm a phone junkie. I can't, with a reasonable sensibility, recommend that anyone buy a $1,000 phone. Do I think the Note 9 is much more worth $1,000? I think, yes, it legitimately is worth $1,000 in the smartphone dollar world. I don't think the iPhone XS is worth $1,000, and I definitely don't think the XS Max is worth $1,100. But I know people who are going to go out in droves and buy these. I know people who are already committed. They want to go buy them. I'm like, good luck. I hope you enjoy it. Now, the Apple iWatch, the new Apple Watch Series 4, to me looks genuinely impressive. And of course, if you want Apple products, typically a lot of people are very well heavily invested into the ecosphere. And of course, iMessage it's amazing. I love iMessage. I wish Android could find a way to do that. And I'm not an Android fanboy. First and foremost, I've been a BlackBerry person at heart forever. So I adopt whatever the latest technology is. I flow with it. I love all the devices, and one day maybe I'll get my hands on one of these. But right now, I just, short of a buy one get one free offer, which T-Mobile is really good with, maybe they'll have one of those in the near future. I don't know. I'd imagine, especially since this is coming out a month earlier than last year's 10 model, that maybe they might have something good for the holidays. And these are really good holiday movers. So I wouldn't say rush out to go get one on day one if you're not just itching to have one. But if you want one, there's merit to it. There's plenty of people out there who are going to tell you whatever it is you want to hear whenever it comes to this device. But for me, I have not hangups with the phones, but I have hangups with the prices and how they're being marketed to people into giving them things that they think they're buying that's worth more money. And to me, I really don't think it is. So those are my thoughts on the brand new iPhone XR, the XS, and the XS Max. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Of course, feel free to disagree with me. You can leave feedback, you can leave comments. I will go back and forth with you all day on this stuff because these are things that we're passionate about and we love phones. So this is what we've been given to deal with, and we'll see how it pans out for the upcoming future, and then maybe how it impacts next year's models. So that's all I got, guys. I'll see you all next time.